Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. Welcome to the Thursday, May 20th meeting of your Rotary Club of Des Moines. I am past President Sean Mullen, filling in for current President Doug Saltzgaver, who had hip surgery last week, and he's recovering, and we certainly continue to send Doug our best wishes for a full and speedy recovery. We are so glad to be here at the Wakanda Club today. It's fantastic to see such a room full of Rotarians that we haven't seen for a while, so we're certainly glad that you're joining us here. And we also want to welcome those of you who are on the live stream with YouTube, and we want to say welcome again to all of you. We want to say thanks to the friends from Invictus Media who always do a great job of helping us put the program out on YouTube, so we appreciate their professionalism and their service. Friends, I'm going to introduce fellow Rotarian Bob Vedril, who will give us a moment of inspiration, and then will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, the four-way test, and I will welcome Bob after I sanitize the microphone.
Thank you, Sean. I think I did something similar, I don't know, a long time ago, and I asked how many of you are leaders in the room, and some of you raised your hand because you run organizations and so forth. But my comment was, we're all leaders, because it's how we lead our lives and how we touch other people's lives. And I want to share with you some leadership quotes. A genuine leader is not a searcher for consensus, but a molder of consensus. Martin Luther King, Jr. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are a leader. John Quincy Adams. There are no great limits to growth because there are no limits of human intelligence, imagination, and wonder. Ronald Reagan. Lead from the back. Let others believe they are in front. Nelson Mandela. Leadership is the art of getting someone else to do something because he wants to do it. Dwight D. Eisenhower. Leadership is about making others better as a result of your presence and making sure that the impact lasts in your absence. Sheryl Sandberg. A good leader inspires people to have confidence in the leader. A great leader inspires people to have confidence in themselves. In thinking about how Doug closes out each of our meetings, President Doug, I got this quote: leadership is distilled down to three words: make a difference. Robin Sharma. Now the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you, Bob. Wave to your fellow Rotarians. If you're so emboldened, you can shake hands, fist bump, elbow knock, whatever works well. We are so pleased to have over 40 of us in attendance today, including a couple of prospective members. So if you have the opportunity, please be sure and extend the hand of welcome to those prospective members. And special day today, fellow Rotarian Bob Reed has a birthday, and I see Bob's in attendance. And Bob is since I'm running the meeting and I get to call the shots, I'm going to sing happy birthday to you, and I would invite all of you to join me singing happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Bob. Happy birthday to you, and many more. No, we're not going to ask Bob how old he is. No, that's off the script. Friends, I want to invite fellow Rotarian Matt Unger, who will introduce today's keynote speaker. Matt?
Thank you, Past President Sean. It's a pleasure today to introduce a community leader who, for coming up on 10 years now, has been dedicated to one of the most important tasks I think is incumbent upon all leaders. That is making sure we continue to provide avenues, as the Greater Des Moines Leadership Institute's mission and vision explains, to develop, connect, inspire, and challenge new leaders to create a thriving community for all. I've had the distinct honor of serving that mission alongside our speaker today, Amy Jennings, Leadership Institute Executive Director, for the last 6 years as a board member, 3 of the last which as a board chair structure. You're going to learn quite a bit about the Leadership Institute today, but first a little more about Amy. Not just a leader and trainer of developing leaders, Amy is an alumnus of Leadership Iowa, as well as the organization she leads, the Greater Des Moines Leadership Institute. She has also been recognized for her leadership as the inaugural recipient of the Young Professional Connections Young Professional of the Year Award, which is an award that now bears her name. How cool is that? She was a Des Moines Business Record 40 Under 40 honoree, and she was honored by the National Association of Leadership Programs in 2017 with the Preceptor Award, in part for her dedication to and leadership around ensuring the Institute was an organization committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion. She currently serves as board president for the Waterworks Park Foundation and has served on the boards of half a dozen or so other organizations. Again, Amy's someone who walks the walk. She has a bachelor's degree from Iowa State University and a master's degree in adult learning and organizational performance with an emphasis in leadership from Drake University. Go Bulldogs. Please help me welcome an inspiring community leader, a friend and colleague, and simply just one of my favorite people, Amy Jennings.
Thank you, Matt. That was a fantastic introduction. And thank you to Bob, too, as well, for kicking us off with some quotes on leadership. I appreciate everything leading up to my presentation today. I feel like I need to dust off the cobwebs or something, though, because I think you are the first group that I have spoken to, aside from Leadership Institute program participants, in well over a year. So it is quite an honor to be here face to face with all of your smiling faces today. Okay. Do I do something here, Kitty? There we go. I just need to push the button. Okay. So before we start talking Leadership Institute, I wanted to take an opportunity to thank all of you because in 2013, I was part of the Rotary Group Study Exchange program that went to Chile. And all of you helped make that possible. It was such a wonderful experience to meet hundreds of Rotarians and learn more about Central Chile and make lifelong friends. And you all made that possible for me. And so I really appreciate your club's sponsorship of that. So thank you. Okay, I was gonna do something fancy here, but we're going old school with this question. I want to find out how many of you are leadership program graduates. Can you raise your hand if you're a program graduate? All right, very good. And then I'm sure many of you have also been speakers, been mentors, sent people our way for our programs. And so I thank all of you for sure for being either part of the Leadership Institute or supporting us in some way. Next question. When you think of the Greater Des Moines Leadership Institute, what word comes to mind, or what words? This is going to be interactive. Well, I know, we're going old school. What do you got for us, Greg? Dedication. Okay, dedication. Any other words come to mind? Immersion. Ooh, I like that. Thank you. Future, absolutely. Community, thank you. Any others? Impact, I missed one back there. Progress, all right, wonderful, thank you. Thank you very much. I think that definitely describes what we're about. I'm going to share 2 words that I think of when I think Greater Des Moines Leadership Institute, and that is all in. So I'm going to share a little story about a Leadership Institute participant who was in the 2018 class. And he came up to me and he said, you know what? I was skeptical of participating in the community leadership program because I thought it was probably going to be like my college classes, my high school classes, other things that I've been involved in where I was going to have to do all the work, right? We've all had that experience. But he said, you know what, Amy? It is not like that here. Everybody who's part of the Greater Des Moines Leadership Institute is all in. And that has really stuck with me since he made that comment, because I think that's absolutely true. Anybody who comes our way, they are committed, they are all in for serving the community, they are all in for being part of our programs, they're all in for building lifelong friendships, and I think every word that all of you described, they're all in for those things as well. And so I think all in is what I think about our programs. So talking about all in, I wanted to share our vision. So our vision is a thriving community for all, served by an endless source of civic stewards. And there are two parts of that I want to call special attention to. So first, for all. We could have just said a thriving community, right, was our vision. But we were very intentional about including for all, because I think you can all think of times in our community when we're like, this place is amazing, everybody's thriving, but if you really think about it, there are many times when everybody's not thriving. And we as leaders need to make sure that we think about how to create a thriving community for everybody, that the decisions that we're making aren't negatively impacting some people and really benefiting others. And so that's one of the things that's really important for us as we think about our programming, is teaching leaders how to make those decisions so that we can truly have a thriving community for everyone. And then the second part, served by an endless source of civic stewards, this is where that all in really comes in. So we want to create that constant pipeline of individuals who are ready to serve our community, and stewards means caretakers. And so people are committing when they go through one of our programs, they are committing to being caretakers for Greater Des Moines well into the future. All right, a few numbers for you. 1982, 2,500, and 286. Anybody know what 1982 is? Yes, when we began. So what does that make next year? 40 years. Isn't that amazing? We've been in this community for 40 years. And I'm sure many of you know A. Arthur Davis and how we were founded. I saw Judy earlier. There she is. Judy's one of my mentors and has helped me, although I never met Arthur, connect me to him through her stories. And I just feel very honored to be in my position and able to carry on his legacy. And I'm sure many of you knew him or could have been even involved in helping start the Greater Des Moines Leadership Institute in 1982. But the idea was that we would have that endless source of civic stewards, and the Leadership Institute was created to be that pipeline for leaders in Greater Des Moines. All right, 2,500. Who knows what that number is? Very good, 2,500 plus. So we have that many graduates in the Des Moines area, or at least we think many of them are still in the Greater Des Moines area. That's a lot in 40 years. So if you think of all the people who are involved in different organizations, a lot of them, as you all, when you raised your hands, were Leadership Institute graduates. 286 might be a harder one. You flunked out? Nope. That is the number of community organizations in which Greater Des Moines Leadership Institute graduates are serving in leadership roles. Pretty amazing. And it's not just, let me clarify, this isn't just, I'm on a committee or I help at a fun run or something like that. they are serving in leadership roles in that many organizations, and I think it's probably, and those are individual organizations, and it's probably even higher than that. So pretty amazing the reach and the impact that our graduates have on Greater Des Moines. Okay, so most people think about the Greater Des Moines Leadership Institute and they think of one program. But I'm excited to share with all of you more about the other programs that we have so that you can be, hopefully, ambassadors out telling the community about the different opportunities that we have available. So the Greater Des Moines Leadership Institute, in and of itself as an organization, is like a school for community leaders. And we have 3 programs. We're a 501c3, an independent 501c3. We have 3 programs, plus we offer alumni programming. The first program is probably the one that many of you are most familiar with, the Community Leadership Program. And that program is the one that has been part of our organization for 40 years. And that program takes people who've already demonstrated some level of community involvement and helps them get to that next level. And we have 3 ways that we do that, 3 parts of our curriculum. So the first one is issue awareness. So we help them become what I like to say is generalists on community issues in Greater Des Moines. They have a wide breadth of understanding by the time they graduate from the program. And we look at how those issues interconnect so that as people are making decisions in nonprofits, in their companies, in whatever way they're involved in the community, they understand all of the different aspects in our community that might influence those decisions. The second piece is leadership development. So we teach the 5 practices of exemplary leaders, and people can take those again into the many different ways that they lead in the community and understand how to be better leaders. And then the third part is practice through service, and those are our class projects. And one thing that we added new over the last couple years is we now use a framework called design thinking, which helps people understand how to creatively solve problems in our community. So you might remember, if you're familiar with our projects in the past, people were using kind of the skills they already had to impact the projects. Now we're giving them a better way to look at solving problems. And so those are the 3 aspects of that program. I'll run through the programs quickly and then engage you in some more questions here. The next program that we have is called Community Connect. And this program connects purpose to service. So individuals who are interested in getting involved in the community, but maybe they've dabbled in it, or maybe they're not exactly sure how to raise their hand to get involved, they can sign up for this program, and they're taken through a series of 5 sessions that help them understand more about who they are. So they look introspectively and they say, what do I care about? What do I think my purpose in the community is? What am I curious about? And then they come up with a purpose statement at the end of the program, and we help connect them to ways they can serve in the community. So let's say somebody is interested in helping kids learn how to read. They've discovered that through this process, and then we help connect them to organizations that do that. The other thing that's really special about this program is we have mentors, so experienced community leaders, who walk alongside the program participants and offer advice, help us make those connections, and really serve as a source of just encouragement and inspiration for them as well. And then our third program is the Youth Leadership Initiative. And this program is similar. It was actually modeled after our Community Leadership Program, but it's for high school sophomores, juniors, and seniors. And another thing that's different, other than the obvious, which is age, another thing that's different about this particular program is we are looking for high potential students. So we don't want necessarily the students who are those overachievers, right, who are involved in everything. They're the president of student council, captain of the football team. We're also not looking for the students who need a lot of help. We're looking for those students, which there are a lot of them, those students in the middle. And how can we help those students gain confidence, understand an issue that they're passionate about, meet students from other schools, and really help them realize that high potential. And then the final thing that we offer is we have many, many programs for our alumni, and we're really proud of all the opportunities that we make available to them. One that we're especially proud of is one that we offered this year called Then, Now, When, and some of you may have participated in it. But at the beginning, I talked about our vision being a thriving community for all. And Matt mentioned that as well in my intro. We have really embraced the idea of equity and inclusion because we think it's extremely important for the future of our community. And so we decided to go all in for offering this program called Then, Now, When, which focused on racial equity, particularly in the Black community. And it was extremely well received, and we're hoping that we can continue to offer programs like this to the community so that they can continue to not only learn about leadership, but things like equity and inclusion. So those are all of our programs, and I think it's okay for me to tick through just briefly a few ways that you all can help. That's okay, right? Okay. I want to make sure I take advantage of this fantastic audience that we have. So I would say there are three main things that you can do. One, think about these different programs that we have and send people our way. People who either are those leaders who are looking for that next step, people who want to get more involved in the community, or those young leaders who could use a little bit of a confidence boost and really grow a lot. Also, we will never turn away a gift of dollars. The only program that actually pays for itself is the Community Leadership Program, and the Youth Leadership Initiative is offered tuition free. And so we can always use support if you're interested in investing in leadership development. And then, of course, we're always looking for volunteers for mentors and things like that we have a need for. And so if you're interested in supporting our organization in any of those ways, I would love to connect more with you. And I haven't looked at the clock, so I don't know. Plenty of time? Okay. So what questions do you have? I know this group is always good for exceptional questions. Hello there. Nice to see you.
Okay, so I was wondering if the classes take on projects, community projects. I know they used to, I didn't know, and can you talk about some of the different community projects they get involved in?
Yeah, absolutely.
From
Thanks,
a class
Denise.
standpoint?
Mm-hmm. So we've been evolving our projects a little bit. I think that I mentioned about how we're using design thinking, but didn't really dig into how the projects look now. The community issues piece of our curriculum for the community leadership program focuses on Capital Crossroads. And so if you're familiar with Capital Crossroads, it's a vision for our community that many, many people and organizations are engaged in realizing. And because we offer that as a foundation for our curriculum, this last year we started also using that as the foundation for our projects. So we asked leaders who are involved in Capital Crossroads to submit ideas for projects that would help move Capital Crossroads forward. And we got 4 or 5 different submissions, and the one that we chose was increasing the number of Black community members who are homeowners. And so the class really dug into that issue, because if you look at the general percentage of homeowners in Greater Des Moines versus African Americans who are homeowners, there's a dramatic difference. And so the class members use design thinking, like I mentioned, and there are 5 steps to design thinking. The first one, and I think really one of the most important, is empathy interviewing. And so they went out and they talked to people who work in homeless shelters, people who are lenders, people who help find housing. All different stakeholders were identified, and the class members talked to them about this issue and said, you know, what can we be doing differently? What would you like to see? And really understood their stories. And from there, they came up with, we had 5 teams, and each of the teams came up with a solution that they presented at their graduation that was related to increasing the number of Black homeowners. So we're not anymore building things, which we used to do a lot of, and that was a big splash, right? It was always wonderful for one organization, but we're not United Way, and we're not builders, right? We are supposed to be building leaders. And so the reason that we changed our curriculum to focus on this framework of design thinking is because we think our job is to equip leaders with the skills to be able to do that thing again and again and again. And we felt like using design thinking was a way to do that through the projects. Any other questions?
I'm not sure if people want to see me. Hi, Amy.
Hi.
I'm Skeet Wooten, leadership class 98 or 97, 98, along with Doug Saltzgaver, our president, and Deborah Peckham. We modestly were the greatest class ever. The Institute has really changed in 40 years. When I went through the program, all we had was the community leadership part. What do you see going forward in the next, we'll say, 20 years, and how the Leadership Institute is going to change and how it's going to impact our community?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of the things, this might seem minor to you, but is a big darn deal for me, is that we are going to be hiring a development director. So we went for 30 years, and many of you might remember during your times in the community leadership program, we contracted with the Greater Des Moines Partnership for a part-time program manager. And then I was hired as the first full-time employee ever and the first executive director that we'd ever had. And then about 5 years into that, we hired another employee, and now we will be at 3. And so within less than 10 years, we've grown our staff. So that's one thing that I anticipate continuing, is that we continue to identify needs, and as we grow, that we also build our capacity to serve the community through staff. I would also say that we will continue to identify ways that we can better equip leaders to serve the community and also broaden our audience. So that's what we've been doing, as you may have seen with those different programs we offer. We're focusing on high school students, we're focusing on people who want to be involved in the community, and then we're focusing on those leaders who are already committed but are ready to fill those big shoes and take more of a stewardship role in the community. And so as we find more gaps, I anticipate working to fill those when it's related to leadership. I'm personally very passionate about design thinking, and it worked really, really well for the last couple years of the projects. I could see us helping to teach people more of those kinds of frameworks for problem solving in the community, and really looking at how we can more innovatively solve issues and offering programs related to that. I will also say that I can see us expanding more into leadership related to equity and inclusion, because we've had a lot of success in equipping leaders with just different ways of thinking and different ways to understand equity and inclusion. And I think anytime someone, actually I was thinking about your 408 test, anytime someone can think about, is it fair to everyone? Is it beneficial to everyone? You're going to be a better leader if you understand those things. So those are a few. We don't have our plan quite buttoned up for the next 20 years, do we, Matt? Not exactly, but we're working on it. Yep.
No comment. I'm curious about applications, how many people apply, how many you take, and then what you look for in a class, because I'm sure you're trying to build diversity within the class between occupations and gender and a lot of things. I'd just speak to those topics if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kitty, you just cut me off whenever I've, gone too far, too long. So we have consistently received so many applications. And when I talk to my colleagues across the United States, not everyone is in that position. In fact, it's fairly rare that that organizations turn away so many individuals like we do. All of our programs receive more applications than we have space for, particularly the community leadership program. So we typically receive 300 plus nominations, and anyone now can nominate. So if it used to be that only alumni can nominate. Now people can self-nominate, others from the community who aren't alums can nominate, and of course we love it when our alums send people our way. But that was an important step for us to take related to equity and inclusion, because that made it so someone didn't have to be, part of the in crowd, if you will, in order to be considered for our programs. We receive around 100, sometimes up to 125 applications for, it was 50 spots. This last year during the pandemic, we took 25 to keep people safe and to also create a good environment for virtual learning. And this year, we're going to accept 40. So we're trying to figure out what that sweet spot is for people to be able to build relationships while also not having to turn so many people away. So we're going to try 40 for this year. For the Community Connect program, we take 30. And for the Youth Leadership Initiative this year, we're taking 35. So the pandemic has really made us rethink, the number of people we have in our classes, making sure that we can create an exceptional learning experience for them. Another thing that we have done over the last few years related to equity and inclusion is really changed our scoring process. Recruitment, we've cast a much broader net. We also have changed our scoring process so that everybody is blind scored. So we don't know your name, we don't know any of your demographics when we're scoring, and we take a certain amount of people just based on their score. And for alternates and a handful of people that can round out the class, that allows us to make some decisions, to your point, about equity and inclusion. So if we have, 5 people from Wells Fargo, for instance, which that happens a lot, Wells Fargo is a huge company, we might say, we're not taking all 5 of those, we're gonna fill in a couple of those spots with other folks. But it's all based on the score, and we just have a little bit of leeway to help build out an inclusive class. But for the most part, we're really proud of our system because we do a really great job recruiting, and we end up, without messing with it very much, we end up with a very diverse class. And that's because we spend so much time at the beginning recruiting from all across our community. So this last year, we did only have 25, but for this last year, if we look at ethnicity, we had 25% people of color, which is essentially unheard of in most leadership programs. And so I'm really proud that we are doing what Arthur Davis set out to do, which is including people from all across the community in these conversations so that they can, I like to say, learn together, dream together, and act together. Uh-oh, Mr. Omen.
Amy, this is a friendly question from the back.
Okay.
First of all, thanks for being here, and thanks for the great job that you do. Arthur would be proud of you.
Thanks.
I mean that. And I know Judy agrees. It was mentioned that you were a Rotary Scholar Exchange Interact person that went to Chile. You mentioned the four-way test. You're familiar with this club, and you asked us to help bubble up people who might be in GD LMI. I don't know that you need our help with the number of people that you have applying. Here's a thought. Let's work it both ways. You know about Rotary. We have a demographic challenge here. This is a group that there are more young people in the club than you would see. They're not all here today. But as we come back, COVID ebbs, we'll see them again. You're here, thank you, okay.
Ashley's it.
You're my one example, okay.
I saw Greg back there.
Well, and Greg just thinks he's always 15, and acts like it, right? All right, let me cut to the chase. Not all of your grads are going to leave and run for public office. Some might dive into a board, bubble up, and be a board chair. Some are generalists. Some may drift away, and we may not hear from them. That's everybody's loss. We could use more people. We do a lot in this community, honoring police and fire and teachers and giving grants through the foundation. And now we've morphed our process where it's not spread it thin, but do $40K a year in one shot to a not-for-profit. That's a game changer. So as you go through your year, introduce them to the idea of service clubs. There are half a dozen Rotary groups in the metro. There are others. They're all good. People can come here, learn, network, find a work on a committee, recharge this group, and still fulfill your goal of having them be better involved.
Yeah,
Good?
absolutely.
Good?
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. We have a couple times talked to your club about becoming more closely connected. So if David is planting a seed about that idea, I would love to explore that a little bit more, because I know what Rotary can do for people, the connections, the service, everything that you are all so passionate about. And I do think it would be a great connection. We've talked our Community Connect program. Like I said, we can always use mentors, exposing them to groups like this. Our community leadership program, the same way. And even I know there are youth programs as well for the Youth Leadership Initiative students might be a great connection. So please continue to explore that, and we will certainly offer that up in our programming. But if there's a closer connection that can be made, we would be happy to talk more about that. Sure. If there's time, yeah. Is there one more question?
Doug, can you see us? Good. Ashley Bonenkamp, class of 15, and there's fellow class of 15 alum in here, I see, so young crowd, Rotarians, I suppose. But you've already alluded to a little bit of what my question ties to, and that's what you've learned during the pandemic. With a year off, so to speak, so many of us in business have learned how to operate differently, and I think there's some lessons that we'll be carrying on from the last year into the future, even without the pandemic being as high of a concern. So how has that impacted the Greater Des Moines Leadership Institute, and what things are you going to change, and how did you approach last year?
Okay, yeah, great question. I love that question. So when the pandemic started last year, I'm part of a Facebook group that's leadership programs from across the country. And I learned that many of them, a surprising number, said, well, we can't run in a pandemic, and so we're just going to take a year off. And to me, that was never an option. because with a pandemic is one thing. Pandemic, racial issues, weird election year, this is the time when we need leaders the most. And so us taking a break was never an option. We knew, though, we had to spring into action, like many of you probably had to do, and change really quickly. So we did move within 2 weeks. All 3 of our programs went to Zoom, and we got a lot of really great feedback from participants on how interactive it was, how engaging it was. And so we're really proud of moving so quickly to an online format that worked. A couple of the things that we learned, one in particular, introverts come out more in Zoom. And I don't know if any of you have experienced that, but last year's class was half and half. They were half in person and then half on Zoom. There were people who talked in our Zoom breakout rooms that I never heard speak in class before. And so I think Zoom online platforms can level the playing field a little bit. And so we're thinking about how to continue to do that when we are in person. But we may have some classes on Zoom because they just worked so well for interaction. Also for instance, we had Senator Harkin speak at our workforce class talking about people with disabilities. He probably wouldn't have been able to join us had we been in person. And so there are definitely a lot of benefits to using the online programs. For next year, the community leadership program will probably be mostly back in person, but some of those classes that we found to be successful, I think we may keep online. And the community leadership program went really, really well in Zoom. And so we think we're going to try to offer that program all online. It's only 5 sessions, and it starts in the winter. So classes end up getting canceled when we first start. And so why not just try that in a permanent online solution? The Youth Leadership Initiative was a little different, and that's one that we're going to have to figure out. I think the students were just as burnt out as we may have been, and so we're trying to figure out the right way to make sure that they're engaged, and we think that we're going to go back 100% in person with them. So they definitely had a different experience for whatever reason than the adults. And so there are a lot of different decisions that were very much influenced by the pandemic and the things that we learned. Good. All right. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. I look forward to seeing you all in person, hopefully, over this next year, and appreciate your support of the Institute.
Wow. Wow. Thank you, Amy, for sharing your story with us today about the Greater Des Moines Leadership Institute and all that you and the Leadership Institute do for our community. So thank you. Thank you very much for doing that. Friends, we are donating the book, Do Trees Get Hungry? Noticing Plants and Animal Traits, to the Downtown School Library. And Amy, we're doing that in your honor. So if you have a moment, if you'd take a pen and inscribe a few words of encouragement to those students, I'm sure that they would appreciate that as well. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you to all of you who are here being with us today. It's so good to see so many of you, and we certainly want to encourage that to continue, and we want to also thank those of you who are joining us today on the YouTube channel or at a later time. So, our upcoming speakers next week, May 27th, our own member, Helen Miller with the Iowa Parole Board will be our speaker, and color commentary will be from recent parolee Greg Edwards, and that's just June 3rd. Principal Charity Golf Classic is taking place here at Wakanda, so we won't be meeting. However, we are going to have a fellowship Social, and it is planned from 4:30 to 6:30 at Birdland Park in the Ding Darling Shelter, and that will be on Thursday, June 3rd. And you are encouraged to bring your own picnic foods and beverages. Adult beverages are allowed, but I guess that's just limited to canned beer only. Spouses, partners, and kids are welcome to attend, or better yet, bring a prospective member. And there's no charge to attend. If you want to bring yard games or board games, I understand past President Don is going to bring his own crochet kit, and so if people want to try and do that, we can let that go. June 10th, A.J. Mumm, the Polk County Emergency Management Commission, will be our presenter. Friends, thank you for being with us today and for being part of Rotary Club of Des Moines. In President Doug's theme for the year, be sure to leave something behind. And think about bringing a prospective member or sharing Rotary with someone today. Friends, we are adjourned.